All right. So, like you can see from the screen, we are talking about communication. We started this briefly last week. So, we are going to be going deeper in it this week or today. Now, the lesson overview, that is what you should be expecting in this particular topic. We'll be looking at the definition of communication and communication process. You'll also be able to looking at the importance of communication in businesses. We will look at the types of communication. We'll look at the channels of communication. And finally, we'll end with barriers to communication. This topic is quite simple, even though it involves a lot of reading, but it is also quite simple. So the class is going to be more of interaction. So at a point in time, I'm going to pause, ask you to contribute, and we share like we always do. Now, the lesson is this. We want to find out what communication is. Communication. So we are right now, what are we doing? We are communicating, all right? So why are we communicating? What shows that we are communicating? Yes, Sydney. What shows that you and I are communicating?
Because we are exchanging ideas.
We are exchanging ideas. Good. Nolan, what shows that we are communicating right now? What shows?
Because you're telling us something and you're also giving you feedback.
Okay, very good. Vino, what shows that we are communicating this morning?
So we are sharing information, transferring information, exchanging.
Very good, very good. So all the answers, Stephanie, are you there? Stephanie.
Sir.
So what shows that we are communicating this morning? Stephanie, can you hear me?
Information.
Okay, very good. So let's now come back to our topic now.
Yes.
Okay, so what is communication? On the screen, you will see that communication is simply the act of transferring information from one person or place to a group or a group to another. It's defined as the act of transferring information from one place, a person, a group, or a group toward another. So the idea is that whenever there is communication, there is a sort of transformation or transfer of information which can come from one individual, one place, a group, or to another person, to another place, or another group. So as we are talking now, I am trying to transfer information from just a single person, me, to a group of students in my class. That is part of what? Communication. Now, whatever that I'm trying to give you is referred to as what? Information. So from now till we finish the lesson, from the beginning to the end, everything I'm going to say here is an information. And this information is being transferred from me to a group of people. Bear in mind that communication can also take place between a person and another person. For example, if I call Vino and I start having a chat with him on phone, that is still an example of communication because there is a transfer of information from one person to another person. Let's come to a typical organization. If the human resource manager calls a staff member and gives a person a resignation or let's say a dismissal letter, we are trying to transfer information from one manager, that is a human resource manager, to a worker. It is still part of what? The term communication. Now, let's now find out the importance of communication in business. Why should we have communication in a business organization. The first one is that communication serves as a means for management to give instructions to lower level workers. Management can be the top level, it can be the middle level, it can be the lower level management. Anytime there is an instruction, there is an order, that order can only be transmitted or it can only be given to those at the lower level through a process called communication. So if administrator has any instruction for any staff member in Sonrise, the only way through which the staff will be aware, will actually get to know whatever that administrator has as an instruction for us is done through communication. That's one of them. Two, problems and grievances of workers are made known to management through communication. Anytime a worker has a problem about his personal life, about the job he or she is doing, he has to make sure that this particular problem is made known to management. And the only means through which problems of workers about whatever job they are doing can be made known to workers so that they can be solved is through a process called communication. So workers have issues. For example, if I start this online class and I'm having a technical problem, how do I get administrator informed? That can only be done through communication. Thirdly, workers get to know all decisions made by management. Management are at the top. They make decisions for the people within the organization. And so when management decides on anything, workers get to know whatever decisions have been made by their bosses, superiors, through communication. This can be done through announcement. It can be done through notice board. It can be done through letters. So along the line in the discussion, you'll be looking at ways through which business can communicate. So we can talk about letters. So when management makes a decision, workers get to know of that decision through communication. We can use letters. We can use what is called a circular. We can even use called PA. What is PA system? What is PA system? What is the full meaning? What I'm saying is that management can make decisions known to workers through a system called PA system. Now, that PA stands for public address. You know, this loud speakers that looks like a human ear. I guess you've all, come across it before. There's a public speakers that looks like a human ear. That's what's called a PA system. So through these means, communication as a medium, management is able to get to the workers with whatever the decision that they will make to the people to get and be aware of whatever decisions have been made by management. Four, report on work done can be sent to management. When management assigns workers some responsibilities, remember that in directing or in organizing, we talk about responsibility, we talk about authority, we talk about accountability. So when management gives staff members job and then they are done with it, it is also imperative that workers give a report to management on whatever work that they were given. So if, for example, administrator asked me to go and represent him at a meeting and I'm back, I have to report to him what happened. The work is done. I have completed the task. How do I get that particular report on the job done to management? The only way is through communication. So maybe I can call boss on phone, I can chat him on whatever social media platform, and he will get to know the report on the work that he gave me and how the work was done. Next one, suggestions and recommendations of workers are made known. Anytime a worker has a suggestion or has a recommendation, that can only be made known to management through communication. So for example, if I want to suggest that we should increase our school fees to administrator, How do I get to know? How do I get it to the people on top? The only means through which I can get this particular information to boss is through what? Communication. And so if a worker has any suggestion, any opinion, any view, any idea, that can be made known to management through communication process. Another one, it also makes it possible to train and educate workers. There is no way that you can train and educate workers if you don't communicate to them. Right now, I am educating, I am training you. How am I doing that? Through what? Communication. And so in the same way, when you come to an organization, it is required that management from time to time train and educate workers. And that can only be done through communication. So you can have a conference, something, a workshop or a seminar. When they meet, management educate and train what workers must do. They train them. And that is done through communication process. The last point we have here is that shareholders get to know how their shares have been managed. Shareholders are the part owners of a company, right? Right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
what is the reward of a shareholding? What?
Dividend.
Your dividend, I hear you. I'm glad to see you. I'm very, very happy to see your face. IG specialist. Okay, so shareholders provide capital to management. How do you call the management of a company? How do you call management of a company? I'm finished.
Sir, the board.
The board of directors, very good. The board. Okay, so the board of directors will be given capital raised by the shareholders that board of directors use this money in running a company for us. At the end of the day, the law of what is called companies code states that companies are supposed to organize what is called AGM, also called annual general meeting, where all shareholders of the company are going to converge. It is required that the board members will now tell the shareholders how their shares that they paid for were used. How did they use their money? Because whatever money that the board is going to use is coming from where? The shareholders. And so we saying that anytime the shareholders have contributed the amount of capital through they buying shares, what happens is that every year, board of directors are supposed to meet, are supposed to organize a meeting and tell the shareholders how their monies were used. This can only be done through communication. So we talk about meetings through communication. Therefore, these are the reasons why we should study communication in business organization. Are we together? Any questions so far? Okay. So let's move on. Communication process. Now, communication is a process because it involves stages. In other words, it involves a series of activities. From A, you go to B, you go to C before you get to the last word, stage. The diagram you see there is explaining how communication is actually done. Right now, I am communicating with you. It is done through these means. You won't see, but it exists. You will not see it, but it's actually there. We have the two ends there. All right. So we have the two ends here. We have here as the source, and here as our receiver. Communication is always a two-way affair. It means it involves two parties. We have somebody who is called the source. In some books, you will see the sender, and somebody is called what? A receiver. In some books, you will see destination. So right now, in our example, what we're doing right now, I am the source. I am the source of information because I'm the one giving you the information. You become the what? Receivers over here. Now, if you look at the top here from the source, we see an arrow going up there to a box called what? Encoding. Now, the encoding is a function performed by a sender or a source. What it means is that the source or the person send the information, put the information in a form to be well understood by the receiver. And so we are saying that this particular person who is the source, he encodes what it means, that he puts the information in a form that can be what understood. Also bear in mind that in communication, the main objective is understanding. And so, for example, if I come and speak big words, resplendent and symmetrical people on board, but these are big words. If I go, then Vino asks Perpetua, what did he say? I've not communicated, because communication must come with what? Understanding. And so putting the information in a form that can be well understood by the receiver is called encoding. It's called encoding, all right? Now, when I encode, after knowing that I'm going to put the information in this form, I must go through another stage called the channel. A channel means a medium, a way, a path through which the information is going to be sent. Are you following? Okay, so right now, what is the channel of communication between you and I? It is through Zoom. Do you agree?
Yes.
Okay, so the Zoom here is not serving as the channel. The way, a medium, the path through which the information can get to the receiver. And so I'm going to use the information. You see over here, message here. Can you see that? So I am sending a message through a channel. Then look at something, decoding. The first one is what? Encoding, all right? Here's what? Decoding. You see that decoding is now connected to the receiver. So in some books, decoder is the same as what? Receiver. Decoder is the same as what? A receiver. Now, the encoder is the same as what? The source, or we can say the sender. Now, what is meant by decoding? We mentioned that when it's encoding, the first one, it means that the sender is trying to put the information in a form that can be what? Understood by the receiver. Decoding here, which is a function performed by the receiver, it's a means of the receiver trying to understand whatever is in the message. So, for example, let me give you an example here. Perpetua's birthday, and I buy her iPhone 11 Pro, and I bought a parcel, put it in it. What I'm doing is called encoding. Are you okay? I'm trying to put it in a form that can be more presentable. And now I will choose a medium, or I'm going to choose a channel. Maybe that channel could be sending Vino. He can be the channel. So I'm going to give it to Vino. If you go, you are going to be the channel. You are going to now send the gift to the receiver called Perpetua. Now Perpetua here will now take the whole parcel with the wrapper and the item in it. What I'm giving to her is not the wrapper. It is the item in the wrapper, isn't it? And so what happens is that she's now going to unwrap it, remove the wrapper. She's trying to remove the wrapper and find out what is in the package. Is called decoding. So decoding means that you are trying to remove trying to understand whatever information which was sent to you by the sender. Are we together? Are we together? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Are we learning something?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yo.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we are feeling something.
Hey, be careful there. So after Perpetua has received the gift, done her decoding, removed the wrapper, and now she has seen the iPhone 11 Pro. Then she's not going to look at this line here. sorry. She's now going to send me what is called a feedback. Feedback means a reply. It means what? A response. This feedback will be sent from the receiver to the sender. Now, so what will be her feedback? Her reaction, how happy, she was in receiving iPhone Pro with all the heavy, picture qualities and all those things. She was happy. That response, that reply she's going to give me is called out the feedback. And so this is how it works. Now let me apply it to our class now. I am the source, the channel represent the Zoom app. So I'm giving you information. Information is the word message, which is the word communication as a topic. You become receivers. After giving you this lesson, what happens? I'll give you a test. I'll give you an exercise. The answers you give me represents the what? The feedback. Do you agree?
Yes.
Yes.
Are you going now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
So these are the, I've already explained them, all right? But then these are the component of communication process. You get the idea, the source, the message, the medium, the receiver, the feedback. There is something called the noise. Noise. In communication, noise can happen. And noise is anything that will make the receiver not understand the message given to him by the sender. Anything that will make it extremely tough, difficult, that me as a receiver, I'm not able to what? Understand whatever that, I'm not able to understand whatever that was actually was sent to me. Now, right now, in our communication now, one of the noise is network problem. Yes, it's a noise because it is going to be a way such that you will not understand what I'm saying. Again, if my screen is not depicting well, if it's not showing well, it is going to also make it extremely tough for you to understand what I'm giving. So anything which is going to occur within the communication process, for example, you will call a number, hello, 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 you will not hear the person. Network jam is also a barrier, it's also a noise, making it difficult for the receiver to clearly understand whatever that the person who's the sender gave out as the message. Now, we mentioned of medium, all right? We mentioned of what? Medium. Do you just choose a medium? Why do you choose Zoom as a medium of what? Communication within this online class time, within 3 months? Why do you choose it? We also chose a Google Classroom app. Before you choose a medium or you choose a channel to communicate, certain important factors must be, sorry. Let's leave that particular portion. Let's talk about this. Formal and informal communication before we go back to that. Formal and informal communication. What is formal? What does it mean? It's formal. Formal. What does it mean? In your own words. Not what's on a screen, but in your own words.
Sir, a teacher-student relationship.
Why is it formal?
Sir, because like we are not the same. We are not equal. We are not
Sure.
the same.
It's because the student relationship is professional, is work related, so it's
Okay, that's fine. Any other person? Why is it formal? Buena, we're listening to you. Nolan.
So it is fun because you are communicating to someone with a higher rank
Okay, so in other words, all
or
that
higher
said,
status.
good. All they have said are correct. Formal means something that you must follow rules and regulations. So we have something called a formal communication and what informal communication. Now, let's go to the first one. Formal communication is defined as the interchange of information officially. In other words, when we have communication flowing, when we try to exchange information where we are governed by rules and regulations, that is called a formal communication. Now, for instance, if business one students have a problem which must be communicated to administrator, can they just walk and then take their mouth and go and knock and say, administrator, we have come, here we are, we have an issue in our class is very hot? No. Before you can communicate to administrator, you have to follow a later rule. And so because communication between you, the student, and administrator is governed by later rules, regulations, that let the issue first of all start from your class prefect. It must get to your class advisor. It must get to whoever. So by the time your issue is able to get to administrator, you would have gone through a laid down rule. So communication that involves following and obeying some rules, it means that there's a step-by-step approach. You can't just communicate. For example, if there is a problem in Sonrise, and let's say Joy News or Joy Prime comes to the campus to be able to grant an interview, I cannot, as a senior house master, just say, I want to speak to the media. No. There's a rule that must govern that. Administrator is always the mouthpiece of the school, the spokesperson as a manager. And so I cannot just take phone and start calling Joy Prime and start granting an interview to them. So communication that involves a laid down principle, a laid down rule, is called a formal communication. So communication between you and me, because the rules are there. You know why? Because, between you and I, when we're communicating, there are certain words that you can use. But if I meet, even myself, when I'm having a chat with administrator, I cannot use shortcuts. No, I can't do that. But when I'm having a chat with Sugar, with analysts, and we are not having any formal. So we can just chat. Tell what happened. What's up, Anna? Tell something drop. I can use such words because there is no rule. And you see, because there is no rule that is governing how we are communicating, it is called informal. Now, when we are, for example, even right now, if you are sending me a message, there's no way that you'll be using shortcuts, or you can say shorthand, all right? But when you meet one-on-one, or you're having a chat on whatever social media platform, what happens? You can't just use those words. It means that communication among you students is informal because there are no rules that govern that. But whenever we have rules set that you must follow rule A, B, C, D, E to be able to communicate, it's referred to as what? A formal communication. Are we together?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So that's about. So I can ask you in the examination, explain the or we can say distinguish between formal and informal communication. Bear in mind that a formal one is the one that we communicate based on official way. In other words, we communicate based on rules and all regulations. But informal is the one that we unofficially, casual way communicate without following any laid down rule or a regulation. Let's talk about now, before we continue, after here, I will send this note to Google Classroom. So you can go and download it and be watching it or be using it as a note. The first one we did last week note is on a page. So you can, yes.
Sir, that was what I was going to say. You sent a note today.
Yeah, is there?
Are we supposed to copy it or?
No, that one is like the one we discussed last week. Okay, So yes, if you want to go and download it, you can do that and then and read, so that wasting time copy note whilst you're having this Zoom class is going to take time. And so you listen, put down some few points. I'm going to upload all these things to Google Classroom for you to go and read. Okay, let's talk about let's talk about all the types of what communication. Now, communication can be grouped into two: internal and external. Now, the names are clear. All right, the names are clear. They are rather self-explanatory. Now, internal one. What is internal? Within, all right? Within. So we define internal communication as the transmission of information between organizational members or part of the organization. So when you are communicating, transforming and transmitting information within the same organization among members of the same firm, it means that over here the information is not going outside the firm. It is happening. We share information. What's the right word? Transforming and all those things are happening right within the boundaries of the organization. So, for example, communication between administrator and the staff of Sonrise is happening right within the school. And so it is part of what? Internal communication. Communication between students of Sonrise and the SRC of Sonrise is still part of what? Internal, because it is happening right within the same word organization. Another example, communication between the human resource manager and the marketing manager of the same organization is an example of what? Internal communication. Now, the second type is called external. Here, as the name suggests, we are trying to transmit information between a business and another person or an entity in a company's external environment. It means over here, basically, it means that we are transmitting information, we are sharing information, and the information is going outside the firm. And so communication between Wallace Academy and Sonrise is an example of what? External. Because if you are trying to communicate between, let's say, through letter writing, Sonrise write a letter to Wallace. That information is going outside the school. And so it's referred to as what? External communication. Now, this sort of communication takes place among people like the customers. Customers are not within the firm, they are outsiders. And so if the firm has any information to be given to its customers in terms of how a product must be used, advertising, for example, on radio, TV set, social media, all the platforms, we are having information transmitted from the firm to people who are not what, who are not within, rather outside of the firm, which is called external. We talk about what? Now, look at here. We have examples of these people and entities include what? The customers, potential customers. What is the difference here? We have customers and then two, a potential customer. A customer here is a person who is currently patronizing, or we can buy the goods and service of the firm. Potential customer is the one that may buy. It means that he's not yet buying, but he may buy in the future. That's the difference between the two of them. And so communicating with them through whatever means is part of what? External communication. Again, suppliers, you know them already. Investors and shareholders, as well as what? Community in which the firm is operating. So all these are external people. Remember, we talk about business environment, both internal and external. So external one, so it means that any communication that takes place between the firm and its external environment, including the customers, including the suppliers, the investors, the information is going outside the company. And so it's referred to as what? External communication. I'll pause here and ask for questions. If there are any questions, you can ask before you continue. So that is to say that all is clear, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about formal channels or directions of communication. Now, channels of communication can be vertical, horizontal, or diagonal. What is vertical line? Perpetua. What is a vertical line?
Line drawn from the top to the bottom.
Okay, so that one is telling us how information must flow from top to what? The bottom. Can you also define a vertical line as there is a line drawn from bottom to top? Would that be correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
What it means is that vertical means either from what? Bottom, top to what? The bottom, or bottom to what? The top. Okay. What about horizontal? Sydney, what is horizontal line? Sydney? Sydney. Okay. Rosalia,
Sir,
what is horizontal line?
the horizontal line is a line that is drawn from the left to the right or from the right to the left.
Hey, you know Buko? You know Book Rough.
Hey, you know Buko?
So that's correct. Okay. So now let's come back to Mars. Who is there again? Who is that fine gentleman there? Okay, Nolan. What is diagonal? Yo, okay.
It's
Okay. Oh, yes.
drawn from I don't know how to say.
You don't know
Let
it.
me let me try.
Like that.
Try.
Okay, all right.
I know it, but I don't know how to say.
Let me try.
Okay, we'll come
Like
there.
something.
So directions means that how the information will flow from where to where. There are three formal channels: vertical, two horizontal, and then three. Yes,
Let me try.
isn't it? Hello. Okay, and what the last one? Diagonal. Let's now talk about vertical communication. This is communication where information.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay, that's fine. That's okay. Where information or messages flows between or among subordinate and superiors of the organization. Here, information is flowing between or among members of the firm, and these members can be either superiors or they can be what? Subordinate. So, like we mentioned, from top to what? Down, or we can bottom to what? Top. So what it means that communication that is vertical can be either downward or it can be what? Upward. As a question, whether we can have it from the top, from the bottom toward the top, or top toward to the bottom. So which of them is downward? Is it bottom, bottom to the top, or top to bottom? What is downward?
Top to bottom.
Come again.
The top to the bottom.
Okay, so we look at down. So it means that where is it going to? It is what? Coming down from where? Top to the bottom. What about down, upward? What about upward? Are you guys there?
From the bottom to the top.
Yo.
Say we are here.
Yeah, you guys, you are good. You know book power, you know book. So when you have communication, that is either the information flowing from bottom to top or top to bottom, it is called what? Vertical communication. So we have two forms of vertical. We have downward, we have what? The upward. So let's look at what? Downward channel. Downward occurs when the information or messages flow down through the organization's former chain of command or hierarchical structure. In other words, messages and orders start at the upper levels of the hierarchy and move down toward the bottom levels. In simple terms, this is where information in an organization flows from the top level to the lower level people. In other words, from superiors of the firm to where? Subordinates. So for example, any information that administrator will give to any staff member is called what? Downward communication. When the accountant or maybe the director of finance has any order, has any instruction which must be given to somebody at the lower, let's say a cashier, the information is coming from somebody on the top to somebody at the down, from a superior to a subordinate. It is called a downward communication. So in examination, when you come back in September, possibly, question number 25, communication between the human resource manager and a security man in the same organization is an example of A, downward, B, upward, C, diagonal, D, I don't know. What will be the answer? What will be the answer?
Say September.
You I know. I said, what will be the answer? What will be the answer?
Say vertical.
Which of the vertical? Is it downward or upward?
So it's downward.
Okay. So two, upward communication. This is what a reverse of downward. Over here, we have the messages transmitted from a bottom level worker or a staff member or employee to a top level person. And so here the information is going to flow from subordinate to a superior. So for example, if I have any suggestion that I'm going to give to my boss, the information is coming from somebody like me at the down level to somebody at the top. And so that becomes what? Upward channel of what? Communication. All right. So look at this particular diagram now. Look at the left side. You see downward, you see upward also at the other side. Look at it down. You see that the information, look at the arrows from managing director to GM, general manager, to assistant general manager, to divisional or departmental head, supervisor, and employees. You see that the information is coming from the top to the down. And all those at the top here have more authority than those at the down here. That is called what? Downward. If you look at the right side, you will see information. Look at the arrows there. The information is coming from those at the down to those where at the top, which is called what? Upward communication. Any question? Any question?
Yes, sir, I have a question.
All right.
Sir, so does it mean that without authority you can't communicate with anybody in the business world?
You can still communicate. Now, even within your class, you can talk to Sydney. But is there any authority between you? No. So you can have it happening even without what authority. All right, Sydney, your hand is up.
So I was going to ask the same question.
Okay, so okay, we are okay now, right? I can continue.
Yes, sir.
All right. So 2, horizontal. So how many forms of vertical do we have? There are 2, all right? We have 1 upward, and then 2 is what? Downward. Okay. Then 2, horizontal communication. Like you said, horizontal means that we are having an information, all right, an information from the left toward the right, or right toward the left. We define horizontal channel or communication as a communication flow where information is coming from people, divisions, or department or unit within the same level of the hierarchy. In other words, information flows among people who have the same authority. Now, look at the first one, vertical. Here we have somebody at the top, somebody at the what? Down. But over here, the information is actually moving in a horizontal way, such that all the people who are involved in this communication have the same authority, have the same word power. Now, for example, the marketing manager, procurement manager, these are all departmental heads, who we also call them all functional heads. All these people have the same authority. There's nobody above the other, all right? And so when there's information flowing between the 2 of them, because they have the same authority, they have the same rank, the same power, the same authority between them, the information that flows, the kind of channel that they will use to communicate is referred to as what? Horizontal communication, because we have information flowing between people of the same authority. And so, for example, in your class, Nolin and Joshua are not class prefect. They have the same authority. When they communicate, it's called what? Horizontal. But communication coming from myself, okay, to you, the students, is what? Vertical, because it's from what? Highest to lowest authority. That's about horizontal. So communication between heads of departments, because they have the same authority, is referred to as what? Horizontal communication. Are you okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. So look at our diagram here.
Yes.
What do you see in our left box? What do you see?
Production manager.
Then here is our sales, and then we have it as our purchase.
Purchase.
All these have the same authority. All right. Look at the arrows from left to right, right to left, meaning horizontal. They have the same authority. So in objective question number 29, yes, it's number 29, not number 29. I'll ask you, communication between the purchasing manager and marketing manager is an example of what? What is the answer?
Horizontal communication.
Very good. Very good. That's about that. Then the last one is called diagonal. We say we have how many channels? There are 3. 1, vertical, 2, horizontal, and then 3, diagonal. Now, diagonal is not a straight line. Look at these arrows here. The one at the left, one at the right here. Now, diagonal communication is when is actually held between different structures of a business firm. Now, communication between the higher and lower sectors of a business firm is also called what? diagonal. Now, look at this particular diagram here. All the lines, all right, which are drawn from these are arrows here from, for example, the vice president in charge of what production to president, the vice president of accounting, from the president to him. Now, let me give an example of a diagonal in Sonrise. The head of academics, all right, who is also an assistant master, or we can assistant head, is actually a leader or is a head of all the HODs, business HOD, general art HOD, science, math, and home economics. All these people are under him. Are you following?
Yes, sir.
So when
Yes, sir.
if administrator has any information, and we know something, bear also in mind that the head of academics also falls under administrator. So we have administrator, head of academics, and under him we have the HODs, business, science, art, home economics, and the rest. It means that if we want to go by the laid down rules, administrator cannot, and he will not be able to communicate to anybody like the HOD of science or business unless he passes the information through the head of academics in that word vertical line. We see, and again, no HOD can have communication with administrator unless the person passes through the head of academics. Now, if administrator maybe decides to jump the head of academics and therefore will jump him and communicate directly to the business head, it's called diagonal. Jumping a step, jumping a particular hierarchy is called what? Diagonal. Now, another example. In an organization, who is supposed to submit a dismissal letter? Assuming we want to dismiss a worker, sack him, who must prepare that letter? Which manager was supposed to, will be asked to prepare a dismissal letter?
Human resource manager.
Human resource.
All right, very good. Some of you are very fast. Now, the human resource manager's duty is to write a dismissal letter, and he must deliver a letter to a dismissed worker. All right. Let's assume that there is a cashier in the accounting department who is under the head of accounting. Now, what is the proper way that the human resource must give the dismissal letter? You see, the HR manager is supposed to give the letter to the accounting head, then he will give it to the person under him. That's the cashier. Okay? Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
But if the HR manager decides to jump the head of accounting and gives the dismissal letter directly to the cashier without passing through the accounting head, is called diagonal. We are jumping one stage of communication process and go to the next stage. This is called what? Diagonal communication. Are you okay?
Sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
There is something called informal communication, like we discussed earlier. Now, informal communication is also called grapevine. Grapevine. You know grapes?
Say why? We know it.
Ask a question, please answer me.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What's a vine? Okay, you know what's a vine? You know what's a vine? A vine.
Say, see, that thing. That.
It's a tree,
that
right? It's a tree.
yes.
Okay. How does it look like? It's very, very clumsy. Combined. Okay. Now you realize that the name grapevine communication was taken from the nature of that particular tree called or the vine. Now we say that grapevine or informal communication is any official communication, all right? Any what unofficial communication, okay, unofficial communication that doesn't follow any prescribed rules. There's no rule, no, process, nothing. We just communicate. Now, grapevine or informal communication normally would take the form of gossips. The form of what? Gossips within an organization. You see, sometimes they also take form of a rumor. Yes, yes, see. How do you say it in a way? They say. Ube, right? Am I right? Very good. They say. Rumor. Can you tell me the source of it? Rumors.
No.
You will never.
Grapevine.
They say Sandy is doing this. They say he's doing this. You will never find the one who is what? The source. Because the source is not identified. You don't know who is sending it, but it spreads like fire. It's called what? Grapevine or informal communication. Rumors are always not false. So sometimes some rumors are true. They say there's no smoke without what? Fire. So at times the information which is spread through grapevine, which is called information without a source, you don't know who is spreading it, may take a form of what is called truths. Some are true. Some of the rumors are true. Some are what? Half true. Some of them is not everything which is true. There are some true that is not true, especially in the girls' dormitory. They can talk. The pressure is there. Stephanie and Go, you are there. You know. Blah, 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 blah. They will talk. You see, sometimes the issue is never true. Never. There's no iota of truth in that, but then they will spread it. But if you ask him, if you ask any of them, who is spreading it? Oh, no, this person told me. That person told me. It was that person who was discussing in the dormitory. This person. You use 100 years, you don't know the one who started that particular word. Information spread. You never know.
So the thing is that we fear you.
You do what?
We fear you.
That's why I don't know. How? Yo, let's continue. Let's continue. So what I'm saying is this. Such information will spread, all right? And you don't know the source of it. Never. You never know. But it is spread, you know. Now, this information even spreads faster than the former one. Now, just give a rumor to one girl. In the first period, 7:30. I'm telling you, by the time you finish the first period, everybody in the school will hear. It spreads like what? Fire. Like fire. That's about what, which is called a grapevine. But despite how fast and how quick it spreads, you will never know the source. No way, the source, you never know. So it's referred to as what? Informal or grapevine communication. But is it always bad? Rumors. Is it always bad? Gossips. Is it always bad? No, sometimes it is good. At times, gossips, are good. You can ask the girls, they will tell you. Petrol and Co. Stephanie and Abarenga, you're all there. Sometimes it is good.
No,
but let's look at some of the benefit of having a grapevine. some of these gossips and all those things. One, it gives management insight into employees' attitude and how they feel about management and other related matters. For example, I can intentionally issue a rumor, all right, in school that, okay, we will not write exams this term. It's a rumor. I want to see how you are going to react. And I know you'll be happy. Oh God, you'll be happy. You'll be happy that, oh, no exams. You'll be so happy. Or it's okay. Now, if you want to go to the house, no exit, just go. In your dreams. In your dreams.
Hey, say, wow.
And so here you see, we want to see whether students are going to be happy about that decision. You can say, okay, now we know all the chief gossips in Sonrise. We know them. We have a record of them. There's a book we have on all the chief gossips. So we can call on them, hey, Amma, now this term, there won't be any exams. So, and because it's her talent in spreading gossips and rumors, I'm telling you, this will spread. You will hear the reaction, the jama that is going to welcome the decision that no exams or free exit. That will tell us that if you bring that particular decision, students are going to be happy. So you know how they feel. What about this? Okay, the school is looking at making a policy of no exit for a whole 3 years. And so we want to see how you guys are going to feel. So we just call the chief gossip. We are saying that from next year going, no exit until you guys complete. The riot, the demonstration that will bring this particular that is going to bring about this will be so big. So what are we saying now? We can decide to release this particular issue through grapevine. Who said it? We don't know who said it, but we will know. It will help us as management to know how workers are going to feel. For example, management says that from next month, there's going to be pay cut. If you are paid 100 cedis, we will give you 80 cedis. But we want to see how workers are going to react. So we are going to release as a rumor. So it's been released. That will tell us whether the workers are going on strike if you bring it or not. So you know how they feel. It's a good thing. But understand that grapevine is more dangerous than it causes more harm than good. 2, it's a source of easing tension among employees. Now, sometimes you go to your dormitory, girls, there's no issue you're going to talk about. So there's so much tension. When you start gossiping, all the tension will go. Because sometimes you come to class, everything formal. Now, during the time of the gossip, everybody can talk his mind or her mind. So it's a means of releasing or easing tension among workers because there are no rules. You are free to speak your mind. And so it is good in some cases. And again, it helps to spread information faster. If for example, I decide to say, okay, there's a rumor that these teachers will be resigning from Sonrise. Secletus, Sandy, Palamtena, Analyst, Sugar, Christian, Wanda, and all these people are leaving Sonrise. If I say this right now as a rumor, by the time we finish this class, we have just from 20 minutes or 9 minutes to finish the class. By the time we finish this class, everybody has said in the whole school. Express information faster than any other form of communication. But let's look at the dangerous part of it. This is danger about gossip. So if you're part of them, I believe my business girls are not gossips. Oh.
So you believe?
So we are not.
I don't know. I'm just assuming.
So just imagine.
You are here. So
So just imagine.
oh, it's true, eh?
Rosalia's in the building.
No, it's not true.
Yo, Aberinga and the
It's
rest.
not true.
Aberinga, yo, we hear you. We hear you. So anyway, so let's look at some of the negative part of grapevine. There is no source of the information. Sometimes teachers will hear a rumor. Hey, they say you are dating this girl. They say you are doing this. Hey, if you like, go and bring FBI from US. Go and bring CID in Ghana. Go and bring CIA in US to come and investigate. They will never know the source of it, and that is a problem. If you don't know the source of information, it is difficult to trust it. And so here it is bad because you don't know the source of the information. I remember last 2 terms I was doing a similar investigation. Hey, I suffered. You call this person, oh, this person was the one who told me. No, it was not me. It was that person. We were in the bathhouse when they said it. You will never know the source of the information. Another one, it is difficult to control because it takes the form of what? Gossip and what? Rumor. Can I control rumor? You cannot in any way control rumors and gossip. You can't. They spread. They just go. They will just go. You will not control them. You can't control. But you see, if we issue a formal communication, let's say notice board, we put something on the board, and we don't want it to spread, we can just go there or remove it. Very, very easy. But when the information is being spread through gossip and rumors, you cannot control it. It will spread and spread even than fire. That is how it works. And again, it leads to mistrust among colleagues and workers. In an organization where people gossip, backbite, they'll go behind you, or because of what they will chop, they go behind you. Even some of the students in Sonrise, sometimes they come to us, teachers, come gossip about their friends. This friend has done that, all because they want free exit. But for me, Lala, you don't get that thing. All because they want to exit. So for example, you see, when you come, he's Sandy, Norlin, he's a bad boy. That guy is smoking. Meanwhile, Norlin has not even seen we before. But because he wants a favor from me, he is coming to speak lies, spread rumors. And you see, if Nolly hears that Vino came to me and spread that rumor, do you think he's going to trust him again? He will not. And that will bring about confusion, will bring about what? Conflict among people, the workers and colleagues of the firm. Therefore, if you are a gossip in business one, please, before we end the class, we are going to pray for you. We'll pray for you.
This one touch me.
We'll pray for you. Now, finally, grapevine normally go for the distortion. What is distortion? I saw, look at something. Nolin saw Sandy and Aberinga talking under the summer hat. And I was giving her money. That's all. That's the story. They are dating. Is that what it? Distortion. Yes, Nolin saw us all right. I was giving money to her, but he didn't know exactly what the money was for. For all you know, the mother has sent the money to me through Momo. And I'm going to what? And I was even, giving it to her. But then what we're saying is that people try to distort the fact. The facts are there, but they try to add their own, or sometimes even omit. So, for example, I saw A, B, C, D in a particular document, but you have somebody telling you, oh, I saw only A, B, C. The person has omitted a few items, which means that sometimes grapevine and then the issues of rumors and lies and gossips, sometimes people begin distort it. Okay, you saw me giving out money to somebody, and so what? Or you saw me doing it. People begin to, what about filtrations? We see, we want to call a filter in science.
Yes.
Okay, so you pour, like you want to separate Gary from water, all right? You're going to have the setup already in place. People will pour the information into a filter paper through a funnel, right? Take away what they want and what leave out what they don't want. For example, I gave an announcement. If you go on an exit and you don't come back on time, you are in trouble. That was what I said. Because Vino want gossip, Vino also went to the dormitory. Sandy said, if you don't come on time when you go on exit, you are dismissed. I didn't say that. I said you are in what trouble. That trouble can have a lot of meanings, but Vino wants what he wants. So he took away what he doesn't want and then took away what he wanted. That is called filtration. So all these things are the reasons why it is not good to spread rumor and to spread what gossip within the organization. Any question? Any question?
No.
All right. So far we have discussed communication. We look at what it is. We look at communication process. We look at some of the formal and informal forms of communication. We talk about the types of communication, which can be internal or external. We talk about the channels, which we said there are three. We have 1 vertical, 2 horizontal, and 3 diagonal. Then we look at other things, talk about also what is meant by formal form of communication. We talk about the informal also, talk about also grapevine. Any question, please? All right. So if we have no question, then we'll have to end it here. It is now time. What happened is that I'm going to upload what we've done so far on Google Classroom. I am also going to put an assignment there. That assignment will be put on the page today. I expect that by tomorrow 9 a.m. Tomorrow 9, you should have finished and submitted your answers to me. I'll mark and send them back to you. So